Is it good? Is it good? Is it good?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chippy Chicks. I am very, very lucky to be here with Danica Flynn, Kelly Jameson, Mel Tang, and Fortune Whelan. I am Stacey Agdern. I'm your host for this evening's episode. Welcome, sit down, have a drink, relax, and we'll talk hockey and a whole bunch of other stuff. Of course, because we're talking hockey, the first thing that we're going to talk about since our last episode is the playoffs. Are we watching? Are we interested in the matchups? Whoever wants to take it first.
I'm watching now. I just started watching this round since after my Jets got eliminated a few weeks back, and then I was too depressed and sad to be interested or care. So I took a little break from watching it, so now we're into the semifinals, right?
Yeah, we're in the
Conference finals.
conference final.
So I've decided I'm ready to watch again.
Did you get to watch any games? Because you were in Australia, weren't you?
I missed the games. There was a small chance that maybe they would have made it far enough playoffs that I would have gotten home to see more games, but no. They got eliminated. I listened to the last game while I was laying on Bondi Beach. So if they had to be eliminated, at least it was an enjoyable place to listen to the game.
Danica, are you watching?
So I haven't really been, because I just told you guys I just bought a house. So I closed on my house on the 27th of April. So it's just been like nonstop, like at the house doing stuff. And we don't have internet there yet because we're not fully moved in. So I can't really watch when I'm there. So I've been trying, like, now that I think we're getting closer, I've been trying to catch them when I can if they're on the weekend or on the weekday. But like, yeah, I usually do like still will watch, but just because I bought a house, I've just been so busy with that, that I just haven't really had like as much time. But now that we're getting down to the wire, I do kind of like to watch. And I think if you want someone to lose, you should ask me to root for them. Because I was like, I want the Canes to win because of Brittamore, blah, blah, blah. And like Ghost is playing on the Canes now, which I like forgot about. Yeah. And then I was like, it's me. It's me. And like I don't feel like I care who wins, Dallas or Vegas. Like I am indifferent to that series. I kind of wanted the Kraken to like win and they didn't go through because I feel like they have great marketing and I know we're going to talk about them later, but like I was like, that's a bummer, but whatever. I really don't care. So, but also like I don't know if the Panthers win, that'd be cool too. Like I don't really feel like I have a strong allegiance to any of the teams.
So in this series, has every game gone into overtime so far?
So I mean, I know for the Carolina Stars,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, so there's only been two.
Right. So it's like
It's been two games, like
2 games.
4 games, but yeah.
Four games all overtime.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did
that quadruple overtime. I actually like went to bed because I was like, I'm not that invested in this.
Yes.
But like when I woke up, I woke up and like my partner was coming to bed and I was like, I looked at the score and it's like, I was like, that game went to quadruple overtime. And he was like, who won? And I'm like, I have no idea. And then I checked to see.
Yeah.
And like the next morning he was like, what was like the longest game? Like the longest one? Because I was like, oh, do you remember when they were in the bubble? And we were like talking about that. He's like, yeah, I remember, because that was like really weird. They had to cancel a game. And I was like, yeah. He's like, what was the longest one? And I looked it up and it was like still a game from like 1937 and it went to 6 overtime. Which is
That's
crazy.
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
The modern era. Yeah, no, I was in Brooklyn that night, and for reasons we will say, I ended up being up much later than I expected because of, shall we say, someone did not know how to turn off a light. So I was up till like 2:30 in the morning, and I saw the goal and I was on social media and I was like, oh yeah, it's Matthew Tkachuk. And of course, you know, on the second night, of course, it was Matthew Tkachuk again. So interesting. So Mel, have you been paying attention to this round as well? I know you were like,
Yeah, I did. Because it's only one game a night, we usually like PVR it and then just sort of fast forward a bit and look at the goals and stuff. But the same, we didn't stay up for the whole all those overtimes, but I was really impressed by the crowd in Carolina. Like they still had a ton of energy all the way through. And I thought, what are they? Except I heard there was a video
Except for
of
the
some
one
guy
guy.
sleeping.
Yeah, the one guy.
He was sleeping. But otherwise, I thought, wow, and these people like they have to work tomorrow or what?
Yeah.
So they were great. It's a great crowd there. I mean, I think all the crowds have been really good that I've seen so far. Yeah.
Like, because one of the things I'm hearing a lot, and I know you guys are, because we're all paying attention about, like, in a lot of ways to the hockey media, is the question, of course, is this like collection of teams good for hockey in general? And I say yes. I say it absolutely is. I say, like, we know we're all seeing the excitement in Carolina. We were seeing the excitement in Seattle. Vegas, I'm actually kind of excited for Vegas this year for a whole bunch of different reasons. I keep thinking about Jack Eichel and his personal story. You know, how he ended up in Vegas because Buffalo wouldn't let him have the surgery, and he went to Vegas, had the surgery, and now he's like, this is the furthest I think he's ever been in the playoffs in his life, and he's just like, you know, in this stage of his career and loving it. So, and like he's playing pain free for the first time in a long time, which I think is kind of amazing. You know, and then he's, of course, we've always seen the crowds in Vegas, and I'm really, really kind of enjoying the energy around this. So I think it's just a great thing. Fortune, what do you think generally about any?
Well, I was talking about the overtime, or like I remember the first Edmonton game, or one of the first ones, because I told you guys I've been at the pub writing. So the hockey games are always on, and it's all tourists here. But I remember this game, like the hockey game going on, and it just went on forever and ever and ever. And I was like, it's 11 o'clock. Why are we only in the second period? I hate these late games, you guys. Like I hate them. And I'll talk about that later because it's kind of part of like my Calgary Flames, like, postmortem. But I like it. I'm really sorry because the Flames didn't even make it. So like all these like Toronto and Edmonton memes about making the Toronto like not making it to second round is hilarious, or not getting past it. Like I love those memes where they're like, what, is there a second round? They're like, are you guys so, they're like, where do you think we are? And he's like, I thought this was a golf tournament. Yeah, I love that stuff.
In Calgary, do the people cheer for Chuck doing so well, or do they feel bad because he got away?
Well, it's not really the big I don't know, because I'm not there, so I don't really like the big news right after the Flames got eliminated was that the new stadium deal got made. So
Right.
So that's the big thing. And because Sean is a safety code inspector, like we'll probably get to see it before it's like open. Well, that might be fun.
Ooh, great.
Maybe I'll take you guys for a tour.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I actually like, for me, like Kachuk does have like a special place in my heart. Danica probably still as well. But I love yeah, I love seeing him. Like my favorite was when he like scored the goal and like went right off the ice. Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, that was hilarious.
yeah. That's good. No, I think it's been entertaining. Like it's fun. It's fun. And then like because like who else would like, no one's gonna watch Seattle, but they've been doing so good with their marketing. Like and now that the Canes are into, like I didn't realize that they were playing each other when the Canes put up theirs, and I was like, oh, I guess Alex Lindbergh's my new favorite, like my new boyfriend. Like no, I think it's great. I think it's been lovely.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a lot of fun. And I was gonna say, like, I also fall into the category of, if you want a team to lose, have me root for them. Because, you know, I was like, you know, obviously after 7 games, the Rangers were gone in the first round, and I was like, yeah. But I also was excited for Edmonton and Seattle, and of course Edmonton left, and I was like, and I was like, okay. So Seattle, next Seattle, yes, and then Seattle goes after that round. So I'm like, okay. Yeah. And then of course, you know, I pick up Carolina because Brett Pesce, the only kid from the area, you know, to make it into the NHL. So it's like, of course I have to, I post the little, Legend of Sleepy Hollow gif, all over the place, once this happens. So like watching all of the teams that I like kind of fall to the wayside yeah. But I have hope. I will see the cup in person this year. But anyway.
Yeah. I can't do, like, Edmonton fans are so obnoxious. I'm not just saying that because I'm from Calgary.
I mean, some of the local rivalries and stuff are just fun or wild, like depending on like, how much anger or enmity is involved in it. Like,
yeah. No, but for me, like, I'm pretty sure, Mel, like, we're Vancouver rivals and not particularly Edmonton rivals. No,
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, I just feel like I didn't really care as long as Toronto lost. But that's like a thing that goes on a bit in Canada too. Like,
Yeah.
like, but everybody says, "Oh, we're Canada's team," and I'm thinking, like Canada's regional. Like, we're not cheering for you guys just because you're in Canada. So
I feel like people try to do that in PA too. Like if Pittsburgh is in, and I'm like, no.
Oh, they hate. Don't think you guys hate each other?
Yes.
Yeah.
The coaches almost like fought in a game in like 2012. That was Laviolette, and I forget who was the coach. It might have been Mike Sullivan.
Oh yeah,
Pittsburgh. Yeah, they almost tried to like get on the boards and fight each other. Like they do not like Claude Giroux and Sidney Crosby hate each other. Like they don't like really bad.
Well, that was us in Calgary. Tortorella tried to get into the room to fight the Flames.
Yeah, in the lot. Oh my God. Yeah.
And then shortly after, that's how we ended up with that's how the Rangers ended up with him, and then we got then Vigneault next or something like that because of that. I don't exactly know how that happened, but like who the hell knows. We'll talk more about hiring coaches and firing coaches later, but we talked earlier in the year about who we wanted to win in the end. Do we all have a pick for end, or do we not want to talk about that at this stage?
I thought we were like, I got this too. I think we were like, our bold prediction was like the Kraken, except they were good or something. And someone's like, that's not really a bold prediction. But they're in the Final Four. So that's kind of fun.
Do you have the list, Stacey? Like, I just thought we were all wrong. Is that right?
I don't even remember.
I don't. I'm just kind of like, I'm more sort of saying in general, like we talked about at the beginning of the year. I think we should look at the list at the end to see if we were actually right.
Yeah.
But now, like looking at who's still playing, do we have any feelings about who we want to make it through?
I don't think anybody could have predicted. I mean, aren't all the top? Well, Vegas was a top seed, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
But otherwise, everybody else was not a top seed.
I think
Yeah.
I'd like to see a Panthers and Kraken. I would watch that. It's very hot weather, but I guess it's hot weather everywhere now.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying like, oh, it's bad that we have like non-traditional markets, but I don't think that like at least the Canes, I don't really consider them a non-traditional market anymore because I feel like they have a very big following. And I feel like Dallas has a pretty big following too. So maybe Florida and like Vegas just because they're like a little bit newer, but I feel like a lot of people in Vegas like to just go to those games because they're entertaining. So like I don't know. And I feel like even if being in a non-traditional market, you might be start gathering like kind of more of those fair weather fans
Yeah.
that start to become more of a fan. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like if you can get more fans to watch hockey, I always think that's a good sign. But I think I did also see like reports about like viewership was down. So I don't know.
I mean,
saw that.
I think the question is like, like where they're focusing on.
Yeah.
Like there's always this idea of, okay, where are you focusing these surveys on? Like,
Yeah.
what kind of mean, like I know for a while, like someone was having trouble getting the games on television, like, but there's like this active kind of fan base for all of these teams, and I love it. It's obviously like fun. We're going to talk about social media later too, but like there's this like there are these active fan bases for all of these teams, and I'm like, I can't wait to see them. Personally, I would like either Carolina or Vegas, but that's me. That's my own personal.
So that's the guarantee we can bet on now. If you're cheering for those.
No. My thinking position is that because of, again, I have been that person throughout this whole thing. It's probably they're going to be like Florida or like.
Oh no. Well, remember
Florida
last year I was like,
knows?
Florida's gonna win. They didn't.
Well, I'm cheering for Florida only because of Paul Maurice.
Oh, are you? Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like.
Yeah, I'm going to cheer for him. At least that's the only team that I can really muster up much enthusiasm about. So I'll make it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cheering for the Panthers too. I like them. They're fun. They're like the team of destiny this year. I love riding that kind of like train when the Flames haven't been around for a while.
So speaking of like teams and journeys and stories and destinies, the next thing that we have to talk about, because we're talking about hockey, is the draft. And generally speaking, at this point we know who's going to pick in what order. Mostly we know specifically the top pick. What do we think about Bedard? What do we think about, generally speaking, because we don't know necessarily what's going to happen until they actually choose, but like, what do we think about Chicago getting that top pick?
Everybody's talking about it like it's a foregone conclusion. And I guess it is, but I mean, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. I think it really sucks that they got him because I think, I don't know, I just feel like they didn't really get punished for everything that happened in the organization. And lots of people lose first round draft picks for things. Arizona lost one for a training violation. New Jersey lost one for a contract issue. And they got fined $2 million. They made over $2 million as soon as they got the first draft pick. The new season ticket people signed up. So like, where's the punishment? And now they're talking about Quenneville coming back as a coach.
Yeah.
I mean,
Really?
Yeah.
That's awful.
I was thinking about our conversation about that when Mel was saying like, it's like Bettman like gets to determine and how like we didn't like that. I was thinking about that when I was like seeing all the reports about it, and I'm like, I don't even want to know about this because it's just gonna make me angry. Like, why is he coming back? Why?
Yeah.
Then why did you like kick him out then? What was the point?
Yeah. What did he do? But plus, there's no like course or anything. There's no like set standard for things that you have to do.
There's no how to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no course, there's no like set of requirements that you have to follow. Like, how can you quantify all of that?
Mhm.
Like, you kind of can't.
Well, so how do you
can't
take that job
quantify all of
again?
it, and that's why it makes it
Yeah.
consider like, yeah, like to even consider hiring some out.
Well,
Why would
to
you
even
want
like to even take the job, like after everything that like you've done, you still feel good about that, like, or didn't do? I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he hasn't accepted it yet, but there's certainly rumors and that sort of thing starts up before. It's like they lead the way to get us, give us the idea and get people used to it or whatever. So,
One of the comments I saw about Bedard going to Chicago, which again hasn't actually happened yet, but probably is going to happen, is like, he's just a kid. How do his parents feel about him going to an organization like that?
well, I mean, I don't think anything would happen to him because he, of his stature and that he's going to change the organization. But I mean, it certainly isn't an organization you have faith in.
Mm.
I don't know. I think there was a lot of issues because he was so good because he's a franchise player. Like, what if Arizona had gotten to him? And, there was just questions about the different places he could go. But I think just like Chicago seemed to be a team that nobody was happy with it happening. But I mean, they played the game. They got rid of all their good players. And as long as the draft is the way it is, you have to do that. And they basically stripped the team down. And, I think Domi was their high scorer. They got rid of him at the draft deadline. They're doing all the things that they should have if you wanted to get a top draft pick. So as long as the system's like that, you can game it.
There's also one of the things in conversations I'd heard around that time was there have been players who have refused to go to their city of drafting and have waited until they became free agents and made their own choices. I know all of us can think of at least one.
Well, I think there's only one, isn't there? I mean,
Lindros.
if you're a lower round, you can do that, but not a top first round pick. Never.
Lindros refused to go.
Yep.
I don't know if that can happen now. I feel like the 90s were a little bit of the Wild West, a little bit.
The 80s.
And I feel like the NHL would be like, no, you have to report. Like I feel like it. Like I don't know if that can happen now. Like I don't know.
But he did say it before the draft, right? He said, "I'm not going there if they pick me." Did he?
Really?
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
can't remember. Like, maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a book by a Flyers sport writer called The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, the Philadelphia Flyers. I read it several years ago, and there's like a major chapter on Lindros because Lindros is great, but also they did him really dirty, like really badly. And it was also because of his concussions and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I'm amazed. He's like an ambassador for the team now. Like he loves the Flyers, and I'm like, why? Like I love you because I grew up watching you and everything, but and a lot of people my age are the same way. Like the Legion of Dean Lyman and Flyers is very much below people my age, but I'm like, why? But I think at the time the league was also not taking care of anyone in terms of concussions, at all. So I think it was kind of what was happening with a lot of teams as well, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, he did say it before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens and what he said in private, what his parents do, because
I think that was the thing with Lindros. His parents were very involved.
Yeah.
And they were making a lot of his decisions for him when he got drafted.
Yeah.
They wanted him to go to a stronger team, a stronger franchise that would actually have a chance of being in the city where it was throughout his career, which makes sense. Which definitely makes sense. I know even then, the Northeast future was confused and sort of off the time, if memory serves. Speaking of teams and futures, all of us have stories of our team and their playoff issues and what's going on with all of them. Who wants to start talking about the issues facing your team at the moment and what you would like them to do with those issues?
What? I can go. I don't have a gym.
Okay.
We don't have a coach. We don't. we don't have an arena. Actually, I'll tell you. So what's it called? So if you've been on anywhere today, Craig Conroy is probably going to be named the GM or Calgary. He's like people love him. He's great around here. And then Troy Living he's out like interviewing now. He's actually a pretty good GM, but I think he's just gone past his time. For coaches, I heard a couple of things. I think Andrew Burnett would be that's my sexy pick. I think he'd be great. He was there, in what's it called? With the Panthers, and then Paul Maurice took the job. So I think that would be a good fit. And then I actually found an article by my best dressed dude this year, Nikita Zadorov, and it was like translated from Russian, but he was saying, that they were playing in the strongest division, and sometimes it's harder to get into the playoffs than it is to get to the Stanley Cup final. And it kind of brings up this whole thing. He brought up the travel schedule, which is always like a West Coast thing. And this year, so I guess there used to be a person who did the schedule, and now it's an algorithm. So that's why there's all of these late night games and all these like silly travel things. Because we even had one where the Kraken played I think they played in Vancouver and then had to play in Edmonton 2 days later. So instead of like going Vancouver, Seattle, back to Edmonton, they just stayed. And they actually stayed here in Canmore for a couple days because like, why, right? And then I think that was, I think for them, it was a lot of fatigue. And then the last part was kind of going from your top two players, Kachuk and Goudreau, 1 year with Sutter, and then having two completely different players the next year who weren't very like Sutter. They weren't Sutter players, which is fine. But that's a big change for everybody. And when you're paying your team, like you got to go with the players, right? I don't know. That's always for me. So anyway, that's my postmortem in a nutshell.
Were you happy to see Sutter go?
No, I actually like Sutter quite a bit. But I was here in 2000. Like I was 8 when they won the Stanley Cup. Like I remember all of this, and I was during the 05-06 run, which is really fun. I was going to mention it earlier. Like people were like, no. So during the Stampede, nobody goes to work anyway. Like for that whole 10 days, there's no work happening. But during that playoff run, there was like for months, like nobody was going to work. Like you would go to the pub at like 11 in the morning as soon as it opened. And a couple Australian guys like showed up one day, and they're all decked out in like Flames gear, and they had cowboy hats, and they came to Calgary on their vacation, and they're like, "Why'd you come here?" And like, "Oh, we saw this all over the TV. It looks so fun." And I think they jinxed us because I'm pretty sure they lost that day. Is that yeah? So yeah, I do like Sutter as like a person. But yeah, it's fine. It's how it goes, I guess. It's not Arizona, so I'm not too sad. Like that's kind of worse.
Yeah.
Right. Like Calgary's always gonna have a team. Like this whole year has been about like getting the arena and like we're gonna take Calgary away, and we're like, I don't think you will, but like they make too much money here. By they, I mean the NHL. Anyone else?
Well, go ahead, Danica.
I have a GM that has no experience ever, and I have a president of hockey operations who's had no experience in that job, who I felt like was in a good job before. So I'm very not really sure what this is gonna happen here. and the coach I don't like. So I don't really know. I'm just like, I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
That was a weird pick to pick a media guy when you
Yeah,
have such
color
an
commentator.
inexperienced, yeah.
The Flyers like to do this thing where they just hire ex-Flyers.
Oh, so he's an ex-Flyer too?
He's an
Oh my
ex-Flyer.
gosh.
Yeah, he's an ex-Flyer, and so is Briere. They're both ex-Flyers.
Oh,
Well,
Scott Hartnell
did
is
they
also an
actually
ex-Flyer.
interview? Did they interview other people?
I don't know, but he did say that like he wouldn't have taken this position with any other team. Like he was, so I don't know if it was just offered to him. I don't really know, but he said like this was the only team he would have taken this type of position for, because I thought he was great as like what he was doing. Like he was very good at it. Like he can get a little wild and out there, and like it made the games fun. So I'm like, I don't know if this was a good choice. And he said like, I'm not Keith, I'm Jonesy. Like he doesn't want like people to take him a different way. Like he's like, I'm still Jonesy. It's just like I'm taking this different position. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like I really don't.
I think that would be a good match. Like, let's say you had somebody really experienced or maybe like good at stats who wasn't good at talking to people, then you match him with a media person, right?
Maybe,
But if
I
you-
don't know.
I think
Because
Briere's
Briere
pretty
has,
good at talking.
yeah. Briere was like the special assistant to the GM, and then we fired the GM, so he was the interim, and then they decided to just give him the job.
Yeah.
I mean, he's working as a scout for a couple of years for the team, so he has been in the front office for a while, but I don't know. I'm just like, and I was talking to a family friend, and he was like, do you feel like they have too much of the old guard? And I was like, yeah, probably. Because like Bobby Clark is still like in management, like we have a like he's like a special, I don't know what his position is, but he's still like involved in the team. Like there's still like the older guys are still like in management within the team. So I think they are still a little bit of an old school way where they just hire the ex-players. And I don't know.
But that hasn't like worked out for them.
No, it has not.
Like when I think about people transitioning from management, I think of two situations. One, the interesting read, not interesting case of Pierre Maguire, who thankfully is no longer on my television screen, and thankfully no longer destroying the Senators. The other case, I think of John, who spent years on my television as, you know, a color commentator for the Rangers and for, I think he did some stuff for Hot Stove for CB when I was at university, and I was like, oh my gosh. But anyway, he made a really interesting and really good transition into being into hockey upper management. And he did great things for, I want to say, St. Louis and Columbus. His tenure for the Rangers was not so great, but he's now back in Columbus enjoying himself and doing great things. But you can see like there, you know, it is possible. Whether Keith Jones can make that transition, we don't know. But that's, I think, what they're thinking, maybe, possibly. Yeah. I don't know. But then again, who knows, right? Like, who knows what they're thinking when they make those kinds of decisions or hires.
But I mean, normal places, you'd have to have like a degree or experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's weird to go in with like, oh, we have people in like high positions that have zero experience doing this.
Yeah.
And like all the fans are just like, well, nothing else is working, so I don't know.
Yeah, because sometimes there's like players and but then after they do a law degree or a business degree or something, they don't.
Yeah. Like Hartnell is doing some like the intermission report, but he's not on all of them. And he is not afraid to call out the Flyers for not playing well. And then I've noticed when he does that, you don't see him for a couple of days. Like, and I'm like, he's not afraid to be like, they're not doing what they need to do. And like, he's been on that side, so he knows what they should be doing.
Well, our season ended in a very messy way. We still have a coach, apparently. and we still have a GM, and people are questioning whether he should go, because like it was such a disappointing end to the season with, they were like battling for first place for the first half of the year and then just went on a skid and managed to squeak into the playoffs, and then we're out in the first round. So, and this seems to happen every year, and every year people are questioning the reasons why. And so I have actually changed my mind. This has kind of been coming to me over the last few months. But after the end of the season, when they interviewed the coach right after the last game, and he was like very emotional and said, yeah, and he kind of went off and he was like, I'm disgusted with these players, like, and he actually used that word. So then, of course, this all blows up in the media and probably just locally. I don't know how much coverage it got everywhere else, but it was the same thing as was happening the seasons before when we had Paul Maurice as a coach. And when Paul Maurice left, I was sure it was because he was going to be fired. But I've now changed my mind, and I'm now convinced that Paul Maurice left because he was so frustrated with the players that he could not coach, that some of them are just not coachable, that some of them are entitled, some of them are like some of the words that they're using, like they're lazy, they don't have, I think Bonus called it, they don't have any pushback when things get tough. I don't know what it is. And there's all the rumors, of course, about who it is, which we do not know for sure, but there's probably pretty safe guesses as to who it is. So apparently Bonus is coming back as coach despite that, and despite the fact that some of the players, despite their lack of pushback, they pushed back against that and said that they wished he had told them that before he said it to the media, which is a fucking bunch of bullshit. Sorry. Like he never told them that. Through the whole last half of the season, I'm sure they know. Anyway, I think there's going to have to be a big shakeup in terms of players this year, and I think I'm anxiously waiting to see when this is all going to start. I suppose probably around the draft is when things might be happening, but I think we're going to lose some of our big name players, and I think probably it's a good thing.
Do you have good prospects on your AHL team?
There are a few, yeah. And there's been talk about how they have been a little bit shortchanged because they don't get called up and they don't get played enough. And some of these veteran players that have been around for a while get played. And, maybe it's time for some of these young guys to come up and show what they can do. Yeah, they don't have experience, but they're going to get experience. We'll see.
Do you think you need a new GM?
Well, it's really starting to seem that way. And lots of people are saying that. A lot of people are blaming the GM. But this is, and I think I've talked about this before, that here in Winnipeg, that the family that owns the Jets, it's Mark Chipman and a few other rich people. They're very, very loyal. So they keep players as much as they can. They keep staff as much as they can. They held on to Paul Maurice longer than they should have, probably. And they're keeping Kevin Cheveldayoff. He's the GM, and after all these seasons where we feel like we've got a good team and we've got good pieces on the team and they just can't get it together, like maybe there needs to be different pieces. I don't know. Probably won't happen because, like I said, they're very loyal to the people that they hire, which is an admirable thing, except if it goes too long.
I don't have very much to say about the Canucks. We have a coach and a GM. Then, I mean, our draft place was exactly where it would be, the way we finished. But I guess the hard part for me was that Connor Brad loves the Canucks, and you think, oh well, wouldn't it be nice if we could get a good player that's from the area and says, that's my
Yeah.
favorite team. And apparently the top prospect next year is saying the same thing, but they would refuse to, even when they were out of the playoffs, they kept winning. They said, we're going to change coaches, we're going to do all these things and continue to win. So they didn't do anything to maximize their draft chances. So I don't know. It just seems like I was hopeful when we got a new management team, but I'll have to see how they draft. It doesn't, so far, I'm not impressed with what they're doing. They just seem to have that attitude. We're just going to get in the playoffs and see what happens. But I don't think that's how you build a winning team. I mean, you have to have a good fourth line, for example, and not an overpaid one. And we're already over the salary cap for next year. So something's going to give. But I think the difficulty is you can't trade people because nobody has any money except Arizona. So.
Yeah, that cap really makes things challenging.
Mhm. Very much so. We, I think, are very, very close. I am hopeful of things that I would like, but in Rangers land, we do not have a coach, which is a very good. Interviews for the various players, they were like, he didn't give us help, and there were more problems between him and GM than we thought. We like our GM. We will see what happens. What just happened comparatively recently is that the trainer for however many years, Jim Ramsey, was just fired. Which by itself, a huge rumor around here is that now that Knobloch, who was the coach of our team in Hartford, the AHL team, he made it playoffs, was doing and was the coach during COVID protocol season. When Quinn and company had to sit out for COVID protocol, Knobloch took the bench and did something with those players that like no one did, which was a losing streak. And I remember that years later. So I am hoping that this rumor that they are going to bring Knobloch up, and if they do that, he will bring basically his staff from Hartford up. But who knows? They are interviewing people. People who is like, please do not bring any Quenneville anywhere near. And there was one other coach that they were talking about that I did not want anywhere near them. I am through to report that it looks like they have basically cut ties with Patrick. I think that his signing is one of the reasons given for letting the trainer Jim Ramsey go. But that, but I'm like, you know what, whatever, doesn't matter. Like, he's gone, and so with Kane. So yes. What else? So we're waiting to see. They're interviewing people. We're waiting to see what happens. I have hopes. I also would not mind seeing Sheldon Keefe here, but who knows? Who knows what's going on? But I would very much be very thrilled to see, I forget his first name, Knobloch, who is the coach of the Hartford Wolf, back up and coaching the Rangers next season. We are now at the point of the evening where we get to talk. We've been sort of talking. We've been teasing most of the evening, and I'm kind of excited about this whole thing. The conversation between social media, professional hockey, and hockey romance. And I love this a lot for a lot of different reasons. I love seeing some of the teams get on the bandwagon, not only with suit picks, but stepping a bit up, as we were talking about the Kraken doing. What was the book carrying? What book was it? I do not remember.
Icebreaker.
Okay.
what's her, by Ella Grace, is that her name?
Is it
Okay.
Emma Grace?
Hannah Grace.
Yeah, Hannah Grace.
Okay. I have not read it for a bunch of reasons, but I've heard it's really, really good and really, really long.
I did read it.
Okay.
It was cute.
The other book that was discussed in with the Bowie TikTok of Bowie carrying a book was Weather Girl by Rachel and Solomon. Put up a post on Instagram. I want to give her a big shout out because she was talking about how when she wrote Weather Girl, the Kraken were in a very early plan, and she was excited about them. So she put something about it in this book, and so like when she thought she recognized the cover of her book being held by Bowie, the Seattle Kraken mascot, she posted about it very excitedly. I also saw your post, Kelly, about one of your books trying to get the Winnipeg Jets to like take notice.
Yeah, they'll probably never even see it, although I did tag them in it. And it is the off season, so who knows? But I just can't imagine the Jets getting on board with hockey romance book talk.
Yeah, and like from my perspective, what was happening is they were posting their normal stuff, and all of the comments were book talk.
Yeah.
And they kind of just went with it. Like they didn't kind of ignore it. They kind of just went with it. And they're like, all right, what's this? And then they started just like posting stuff, which I thought was interesting. I think they're in a unique position because they're not like an old boys club like the other teams are, because they're newer, they're fresher. They have people that are trying to, they're like, hey, this is getting views, this is getting engagement, so let's run with it. Like maybe this will get more fans. And there's a lot of people that read hockey romance that aren't fans of hockey at all, which is fine because they just like the romance. But there's also people that start out that way and they start reading more and they are like, well, I want to start watching hockey now. And like, so I think it's a great way to kind of get those people that might be interested in, because I know there's so many readers that they're like, hey, I used to read all of these and now I decided to start watching, or like my team got into the playoffs and now I'm going to like start watching. So I think it's a great way to get different fans and to even get engaged with female fans. Now I know there's people that are being annoying about it, about like, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, so I think it's great.
Well, I think
grab more
the
fans,
other thing that,
yeah,
the other thing about Seattle is they have made an effort to have more diverse management, like more women, Black people. So when you have different people in management, then you get rid of the old boys thing where they're like, well, that's not really hockey. You know, there's like, well, there's fans here. There's people we can engage with. Like, why not open it up to everyone? So I think once you put those people in charge, then you get more progressive attitudes about media, social media.
I think the Kraken have done a phenomenal job of that, like hooking into romance book talk, and hockey romance book talk was just like, what an amazing move.
Yeah, like Calgary is a very boys club. Like they're a very professional organization. But could you imagine like the hockey / like cowboy / like it would,
oh my God,
it would blow up.
Yeah. I mean, like it's interesting because like the Rangers kind of dive between like old boys club and new stuff. Like their social media has been really, really great. They're not like old school social media. Like I was talking to an Islanders friend fan who was all excited because she was getting like, I mean, amongst other things that she does that she talks about with the team, like I asked her, I was like, she's like all excited because they're getting suit picks, and she's like, and I said, what, like you don't get them all year? And she's like, no, she's like, they only do it for the playoffs. It's like, that is interesting. But the Rangers are very much like showing suit picks. They're, they take requests, they do all the do the TikToks, they have a grand old time with it. Like, I think this would be something they would pick up in 3 years from now, because even though they try new things, it takes them a little while to get into things. And I think it's something that they would pick up probably like afterwards, but like, I don't put it past them, like finding like the New York, like using them in conjunction with like Rangers related things. So
Yeah, I can see the Jets being like that too. That, I mean, they have done better lately. They have hired a young girl as their social media, like she's the one that's on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. She's fun. She's more fun than their social media used to be for sure. But they're such an old boys club and so conservative. I don't know that they would. It might be a few years before they would ever get on something like that.
Outside of like Gritty's account, which he gets a little out there, they don't really do too much. Like they interviewed them all because Taylor Swift was in Philly and she did like 3 days at the link. So they asked them if they like what their favorite Taylor Swift song is. And that was like about as far as they would go out, like they're just not going to. Flyers are very, very old school. That's how Snyder was. So they've kind of held on to the like Ed Snyder beliefs for a really long time. So
Yeah, I wish every account was like bar down. It would be so much more fun.
Bar down, guys are just hilarious. Like there are so many different.
Yeah, but I feel like that's what that's what people are like that watch hockey and not, yeah.
All right, so we are now at the stage of the evening. What do we want to do next? Do we want to do wild listing or do we want to do sleep fix? Which do you want?
I can
We only have a few minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah. I know, we
Well,
always go over.
Yeah. Derek already took my wildest thing, which was the OT game.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So
we can
Let's
just
do
see
this.
the photos.
Yeah, let's do the suits.
Okay.
let's see suits.
And then
Okay. So I
With
picked
the beard.
more for this massive playoff beard, and I just wanted to showcase it.
Got the beard all right.
yeah, you love the beards.
Stuff living in there.
Also,
Did you guys?
he had to be told to stop sitting on people,
What?
like during games. I guess he just sits on people when they like shove him into.
Okay. Who is that?
It's Radko Gudas. He plays for the Panthers. He's an
Okay.
ex-Flyer. He used to play for the Caps too. So like he's been around the block.
Yeah.
He looks like an old-timey, like Victorian guy though.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at the comments because they like posted his picture on Bar Down. They said, wrong answers only, and I had no idea who he was.
Yes, Gudas. He's always had a big beard though, so like this is even more like he like let it grow out for playoffs. So it's fun when they do that.
I'll go next, I guess. So there's our everybody's best friend Bobby Lou, GM of the Panthers. So in Calgary, a lot of people don't like Longo, but he was also, our Team Canada goaltender. So I do actually like him very much. So he's very excited. And I picked him.
He's very excited.
I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's like the tweet that he posted that says, "I seriously need to get a hold of myself moving forward." He's so funny. I love him.
Yeah, I think he's great.
He also said, "Act like you've been there before." He said to himself.
Oh my god.
Wouldn't that be great though if like Luongo and Paul Maurice and like Kachuk all won? And yeah, I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I love Luongo. Oh yeah, I thought, Fortune picked him. I should have done that, but I'm so glad you picked him. So this is a guy I never heard of before the playoffs. So it's Martin Natchez, and so I just that they just posted their suit. They were going to the airport to fly to Florida, and I think 3 of the guys had sort of pinky purple suits on. So I just thought, he looks cute in that outfit. So picked him.
So Knicks played a little bit longer than the Rangers did in the playoffs. One of the things I've always liked about having multiple teams in the same city is the idea of like camaraderie and like, you know, what am I looking for? Support, cross sport. That particular picture I've chosen for a bunch of reasons. Number one, you have Igor Shesterkin, the Rangers goaltender. And number two, you have Adam Fox, who is also nominated for the Norris Trophy this year. But more importantly, this morning he got engaged and there are gorgeous pictures on Instagram. I urge you to check his account. I felt very strange posting those pictures, but he looks adorable. The proposal is adorable. So I posted Mazel Tov, Adam, if you can. Anyway, so there we go.
Probably. Okay, so that picture's mine on the top left there, not hockey players. This is
No kidding.
something different. I just have to admire the spirit and style of these Jets fans for the whiteout, which is our traditional thing that happens here during the playoffs. Everybody wears white. So, I mean, when it started, it was like everybody wore a white shirt, but now there are people that wear white head to toe, literally with a white mustache and everything. I think I have to admire that.
That looks like so much fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice. This has been a fun show. Next show is when?
June, what did we say? June 18th?
June 18th.
And that'll be our last one, I guess, because typically we take the July, August off. And we'll be back in September after that in time for training camp. Okay.
Should we tell them Stacey's book so they can read along to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, we'll be talking about the B'nai Mitzvah. You guys will be talking about the B'nai Mitzvah Mistake. I will be on the hot seat, which is kind of fun and fascinating because part of the B'nai Mitzvah Mistake was inspired by our conversation that we had here about Josh Shaw and Evan F. Moore's book about hockey culture and how to change it. So part of what's in the book is actually kind of inspired by my take on that. So
Nice. I'm excited
the
about
book-
it.
Awesome. I can't wait to read it. We'll talk
Me
about
too.
it next
So-
time.
Oh, tell everybody when it comes out, Stacey.
Can I plug one thing?
Yeah.
the
I
B'nai
was
Mitzvah
on the
Mistake-
Romance in Color podcast, which I found out because I listened to Fortune on it, and she asked about the Chippy Chick, so I did.
Oh,
So
yay.
shout out on there.
Aw. Yay. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, she was so nice. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Anybody have a new release or anything to share? No. I think we're all in a little bit of a slow period.
Yeah, I don't have one. My next one's not until September, so I have some
Okay.
time.
Okay.
I also, because we've been talking about it for a while, that I actually managed to finish the book I've been drafting in various stages. I finished
Woohoo.
finished drafting it last Friday. And I gave it this week. I inadvertently gave it this week to cool down. So I will go back to it on Monday. But yes, the second book in the series is the third version of it has been drafted.
Hey.
Great.
Okay. Night, everybody. I'll play us out.
Play us out.